Hello! Welcome to Push to Shout. You could see me over that text, and that was very intentional and part of the plan.
Yeah.
And this is
New
Skippy
style.
Sigmatic here.
What's up, everyone?
No, I was talking about me. And welcome to Push to Shout, a podcast about video games. Last week we didn't do a show because I was doing a different show. It was my last sketch comedy, show for our group because I'm a senior. I'll be graduating and won't be doing that again. So that whole week was basically just wake up, go to class, rehearse, and then sleep. So yeah, no time to do anything else. But now that's over. It went real well, and I'm ready to get back to wasting my life.
Yeah, definitely. Back to what's important: podcasting and playing video games.
Yeah.
Um,
So what's up with you?
well, there's we missed last week, so yeah, we've got a lot to cover. Kind of. Maybe it won't be as much as it feels like it is, but it does feel like a lot in the news section of things. But for now, my week, my 2 weeks, I've really only been playing one video game, but let me get the non-video game stuff out of the way here. I watched Furious 7. I've got nothing to say about it. It was not very good. It was exactly what I expected it to be. Uh, I don't hate the Fast Furious series, but I guess it's just not my thing. The Formula One race, the premier Formula One race of the season was last weekend in Australia. And it was notable because they've changed some of the rules regarding qualifying, and it was a complete disaster.
Really?
Yeah, it was like really boring. And in the last 5 minutes of qualifying, which was supposed to be the most exciting part of the day, uh, everyone had finished setting all their laps that they were going to set, and people were getting out of their cars, and it was just really weird and anticlimactic. But nobody cares about that except people who watch F1, which is probably nobody listening to the podcast. Speaking of things that nobody watches, Lucha Underground
Yeah.
is really, really fucking good, and I honestly think people could watch it and enjoy it who have never watched wrestling or have no interest in wrestling. It is just awesome. They had Az Aztec Warfare 2 last night. They're in their second season, which is like the Royal Rumble of Lucha Underground. And so they have like every 3 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever, a new person, a new contestant enters the Rumble, and until they're at 20, and then the last person left standing is the winner. And so they get a chance to kind of like show off all their talent and stuff, and it's just one long match that takes the whole hour long episode, and it was really, really good. And it's hard to sell someone on that show without just showing them an episode. But if you were to start with an episode, Aztec Warfare 2 or Aztec Warfare 1 for that matter, really, would be a really good starting point, I think. And I think you kind of can start anywhere because it's not like it's super complicated with its storylines or anything. So yeah, I honestly encourage people to check that out. It's a lot of fun, and it's not going to take a lot of your time or anything. They're hour-long episodes. So anyway, to video games.
Yeah.
You know what? You go ahead, and I'll talk about my video game.
Sure. I played Stardew Valley, or started it. I'm liking it a lot. It's really relaxing. It's a
Yes,
really,
it
really
is.
relaxing game. That was one of the few games I got to indulge in over that week. Was to pop in a couple hours of Stardew Valley late at night, and it's just really nice. You can just spend a good 20 minutes clearing some space on your farm, and then walk into town and say hello to people, and maybe
There's
do
no
part of
pressure.
one quest. Yeah, or there's like some, but it's so spaced
There's
out.
enough to keep you going and to give you
Right,
little goals and stuff. But if you fail in those little goals, there's no consequence. There's no
right.
fail state. It's the only stressful thing that can happen is, have you died in the mines yet?
No,
Have you been in the mines
I
yet?
have.
Okay, they get pretty hard if you start going through them. Like you can kind of tell where, like, oh, okay, you're supposed to leave it for a little while until you upgrade your stuff or whatever. But I died once, and it was devastating. They like punish you really, really hard. Like you lose a lot of cash and items and stuff. It's like the only thing, literally the only thing in the game that like made me go like, whoa, that was punishing. Like that actually made me feel bad. That's the only thing that's made me feel bad in the game.
Hmm.
So I only made that mistake once. But don't die. It sucks.
Yeah, okay, I'll keep that in mind. But for the most part, it's been pretty easy going.
Yeah.
The most stressful thing that's happened to me is just going into the carpenter's place and having her not be there when she's supposed to be there. She's always
Yeah,
like
she does
wandering
that a
around
lot. She
town.
wanders off.
She's lazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, Stardew Valley. I finished Mother 3. I'm not going to talk about it though, because I think you can already guess this kind of stuff I'd have to say about it. I loved it. It was amazing. And I'm starting a new project because of me being tired of talking about the Mother games in pieces. And I'm doing an Earthbound commentary. And I was just... Matthew Matosis got back to me on Twitter and explained how much work it is. And so I've been keeping that in mind and organized exactly what I need to capture footage of and exactly what I have completed in each stage just so I can keep the project moving. But I'll be going through the entirety of Earthbound and just talking about the game in its entirety. Because part of the trouble when trying to talk about these games is that so much of the value of it comes from experiencing the journey of it and really seeing the game for what it is in its breadth. And if you just talk about little pieces, or even if you try to just analyze a particular bit, I don't think it really works. Like, those games, they work best taken as a whole. I think Dark Souls is kind of similar. That's sort of why I got to thinking that way, that you can't just talk about one little thing in Dark Souls and just get it. I mean, there's storylines that are kind of interesting, but...
I mean, I think you'd get it. I think you'd get, like, okay, here's the appeal of the combat. Okay, here's the appeal of the art. But you wouldn't... There's something about that game that grabs people.
Yes.
That's kind of beyond its individual parts. It's more than some of its parts.
Absolutely. And Earthbound and Mother 3 are very much that way. That you really can't... Yeah. I just don't think you can do it justice without pointing out many, many things. Stuff that would be hard to get to in a tightly scripted video. I also... Part of the reason I'm doing it is just because I really wanted to watch a video like that, and I searched and there just aren't any. There's lots of like analysis of this one thing, like this is what I think the final boss is about, or this is, game theory, the dark secrets of Earthbound, which is a real thing. And
Right.
I really wanted to watch somebody just go through the game and not just let's play it, but to talk about it, and
Well, I mean, that's the original appeal of Let's Plays. I feel like when Let's Plays were starting to become a thing, it was games critics and developers and whatnot playing the game and talking about it from a position of knowledge and experience and wisdom that PewDiePie is a different appeal from. And I feel like Let's Play,
yeah, PewDiePie, which
it's
I'm
a different thing,
still
I guess. From,
gobsmacked that you say it that way still, but I'm glad you do because it's funny. That's
But
entertainment.
yeah, that's the nice thing about speedruns. That's what I like about speedruns is that if you get a good speedrunner who is, or what they started doing now with the speedrunning events and stuff is that they have someone talking about the game who isn't the speedrunner, so the speedrunner can pay attention, obviously. But if you get a good one, they know a lot about the game
It's
and they know
informative.
everything interesting about it, and it's informative to sit there and listen to them talk about it. And speedrunning goes into a very particular kind of depth usually with games that's much less broad than what you would be doing, but still it's that kind of appeal of I like that a lot. I love those commentary videos if they're well done.
It's gonna be because Matthew Matosis isn't the only one who's made stuff like this. What I think it's going to be more similar to actually is Goose Goose's commentary of Half-Life 2 in its episodes. I mean, they're both kind of similar, but Goose Goose he talks more about like the story and the atmosphere and that stuff. Because mechanically,
episodes.
There's not all that much going on in Earthbound. I mean, there's stuff to talk about there, but the real content of that game is the writing, and so that's what it'll mainly be talking about. And yeah, I've been taking some pretty detailed notes and also doing some research so I can not only just know stuff about the game, but I also don't want to rehash a lot of the commonly discussed points because there's a lot that's already been covered. Like, oh, did you know that he was inspired by this scene in that movie when he made the final boss? Everybody knows that at this point, or if you don't, that's one of the first things you find when you go searching. So
Right.
I might, mention that stuff, but I don't want to. I don't want to rehash
Yeah,
done
there's a
points because
balance to
it's a
be found, I
20-year-old
guess.
game.
There's a balance to be found because you're going to have people who don't know about that stuff, and I guess there's a way to mention it without going into depth about it, where people, if they want to know more about it, they
Right,
can look it
right.
up. But yeah, it's part of the challenge of being a content creator, is appealing to a wide audience.
Yeah, Matthew Matosis got me kind of nervous when he said how much work it would be. So
Hmm.
I'm trying to really carefully
Yeah, you
organize
tweeted at him
this.
and asked like for tips and stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I saw that.
Um, and I think it'll be easier than a Dark Souls commentary, substantially, because one, there's one fewer axis to explore,
Sure.
and there's not a lot that depends on like your build or doing specific things that are very time consuming. It's a game that you can just start from the beginning and go through it, and if you're just thoroughly going everywhere, you'll see everything. And I think it'll be a more manageable project than something like a 6 hour Dark Souls commentary.
Find out how long is Earthbound.
Earthbound's about 30 hours on a first playthrough,
Whew.
but
All right.
on a second playthrough, it's taking me significantly less time because
Yeah.
I know what to do. But that's
All
one of the
right, man.
interesting things I'm finding is how clearly telegraphed the hints are. It's meant to be because okay, I started playing Mother 1 because I want to have that context too, the one that was
Mm.
released only in Japan and just recently came out on Wii U. I started playing that, and that is a game where it's like, oh my god, where the fuck do I go? Like, it's that kind of game.
Right.
Earthbound is not that kind of game. If you just start talking to people, they'll drop hints on what you need to do, and it'll become fairly clear. And I was never stuck on my first playthrough of Earthbound.
Yeah.
It's good, and I'm gonna enjoy making it.
All right. I'm looking forward to that. That's cool. All right. I've been playing a game. I've been playing a lot more of Hitman than I thought I would. So I've talked a little bit about it because I downloaded the beta or whatever that you get for pre-ordering the first episode. So you can. So they're doing it episodically, which I've seen a lot of criticism of, but I kind of like it. But I don't have that much to say about it. I think we've talked about it before, where it's like, all right, you can do it by episode, or you can go ahead and pay $60 and just hope that the sequel episodes are good, or you can just pay 15 and get one at a time. And so far, I've just paid 15. But with how much I'm enjoying this first part of the game that I've gotten, I might.
Just
I'll
buy the
still
whole
wait
thing.
for another one to come out to see if it's good or not. But like, so far, I've been getting a lot of time and fun out of just this one level. And what I thought that it would do, and maybe they'll still do something like this, but I thought it was going to be a case of, okay, we've got this big map, which is like a chateau in France, and they're doing a fashion show there, and you get all the land around the chateau, and it's 3 stories plus a basement, so it's a lot of space. There's a lot of
I saw
area to work with.
Donkey's video on it, and it looked really cool.
Yeah, I mean it is pretty cool. It's not perfect, and I'll get to that, um, but it, the important part is that it's big, and that means theoretically you've got this first episode where it's okay, assassinate the husband and wife couple who run the fashion show and who are also doing some kind of like underground uh, espionage network thing, like they're bad people selling state secrets or something like that. It doesn't really matter, but I thought what they would do was say like, okay, that's one part of this level, and then they would completely switch stuff up, and maybe there's a different kind of event taking place there or something like that, and so all the positions and all the restricted areas and stuff switched around, and it's a completely different level just taking place on the same map. They haven't done that. They do allow you to. They do have like optional contracts you can take where you're killing just kind of random people. It seems. Like, oh, here's this particular bodyguard who is now your target, and maybe you have to assassinate him with fiber wire, and you have to be disguised as this, and so it's like kind of little challenges, but they're not very fun to me. Like they're just kind of boring, I guess, or they're not boring, but you unlock the next one and it's the previous one plus another challenge, and then you unlock the next one and it's 3 challenges, and then 4 challenges, and then 5 challenges. So you're doing the same thing over and over. You're just doing another thing on
Right.
top of it, and so it becomes really tedious to get through. And it's like, all right, just give me all the challenges at once and let me try to complete as many of them as I can rather than one at a time. Um, but that stuff, I mean, disregarding that stuff completely, just playing the main mission with the main targets over and over, trying to kill them in different ways. They give you a list of challenges and stuff that you can complete that are not what I'm talking about otherwise. It's hard to explain, but in the main mission, you have a series of challenges that you can complete, and you can complete them in any order or not complete them at all if you want. But it'll be stuff like drop a chandelier on this person, trigger an evacuation and blow them up while they're in their safe room. Um, and so I thought that stuff wouldn't be that much fun to replay the level and just kind of try to do it a different way. I thought maybe I'd replay it 2 or 3 times. I've probably replayed it 15 times. Like
Really?
I've just been doing it over and over because there's so many ways to do what you need to do, and it's so satisfying if you do it right. Um, you can, I mean, Jesus, you can disguise yourself as a waiter and hide your gun away and get access to the top floor where the secret auction is going on, and poison the food that the woman eats, or the wine that she drinks. Or you can disguise yourself as a bodyguard and blow them up in the basement or something like that. Like just all sorts of stuff you can do. And some of them are goofy, some of them are kind of cool. It's a Hitman game with a lot of content. So I'm actually really really satisfied with it. It does have some really weird glitches and oversights and stuff. Like at one point, I assassinated the wife, and I heard the husband on the phone with her later on in the level. So it's like, why didn't they account for that? That seems like a really obvious thing, but it considering the fact that it's such an in-depth game, I can kind of forgive it for a lot of that stuff. And the AI can be kind of janky and weird about certain things. Like I planted a remote explosive in a camera that a woman was interviewing one of the targets with, and so I could blow up the camera and kill him. And I was standing 100 feet away or whatever, watching the interview happen, and I blew up the camera, and everyone around me instantly knew it was me. And that was shitty because it's like there's no way for them to know it's me.
Right.
And that didn't make any sense. But then if I was standing in a different part of the level and I did it again, I was just kind of testing it out to see how the AI worked. If they didn't see me, I guess, near the camera, then they didn't think it was me. It's weird, but for the most part, it works how you would expect it to. So yeah, I like it a lot. I highly recommend it if you like Hitman games, and it's definitely worth $15. I've probably gotten 9 or 10 hours worth of gameplay out of it so far, and I'll probably play more of it too.
Okay.
So yeah, good
Yeah, that
stuff.
sounds good.
Um,
And it
all
looks
right.
better than I was expecting it to. I
Yeah, I
really
mean,
liked the physics of the objects you can throw. I mean, it's just funny.
it's very classic Hitman with like the ragdolls and stuff.
That's good.
But yeah, it's really cool. All right, lots of news from the past 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So
don't know where to start.
let's start with the Wii U and X thing,
Sure.
because I actually know some about that. The rest of
Yeah.
this is mostly new to me.
The Wii U,
Yeah.
they're gonna
So,
stop producing it. Sorry
well,
to steal your thunder there. I know you were gonna say.
no, they haven't confirmed that.
Oh, I thought they
There
had.
was a rumor, and Nintendo came out and denied that rumor. So
Well,
who knows? I mean, it's not a secret that the Wii U has not sold well, and so
yeah.
that's why this seems plausible. But it's apparently just not true that they're ceasing production.
Well, yeah. I mean, it didn't surprise me. If it were true, it wouldn't surprise
Right,
me.
right.
Because the NX is coming out this year, supposedly.
This, oh man,
I
I just
I
don't
think they
really
said
believe
holidays
that.
this year is like the pretty. because they're probably going to announce it at E3 like they did with the Wii U, and then release it on the same year, which is what usually they do.
I
I don't know.
guess.
It's not set in stone, but that sounds like the plan to me. Um, and regardless, they probably have a lot of Wii U's that they don't need to produce them necessarily to keep selling them. But
I guess, but it still seems too soon to me. I don't know.
well,
Oh well.
I will put money on it. Actually, I probably won't. But my theoretical money is on the NX coming out holidays and being announced at E3.
I wouldn't bet against that happening.
Yeah. But of course, we still don't know what the fuck the NX is, and that brings us to the second part of this story, which is that
I know
there
what I
was an
hope the
image.
NX isn't.
Yeah, there was an image leaked out of supposedly, allegedly, the NX controller, or maybe the console too. I don't know if it's just the controller or the console. Um, and I don't know if you ever saw a few months ago, Nintendo put a patent on basically what you see in that picture.
Yeah,
Which
I saw
is
that diagram.
if you haven't seen it, uh, it's an oval controller looking thing where the entire face of it is a screen with two thumbsticks kind of jutting out of the screen. And then theoretically, the buttons would just be on the screen itself around the thumbsticks. And
It looks awful.
yeah, that doesn't look very fun to use to me at all. I mean, as a mobile thing, just a mobile thing, maybe. As a controller to use with a console, it would be terrible. So I think
I just don't believe that that is real
I don't
at all.
believe it for a second, and the main reason is because it looks exactly like the patent image looked like, which usually when you see stuff in its patented form, uh, that's not what it ends up looking like in the
Yeah.
final form. Like the patent is just a theoretical image, so it's almost like I mean I'd put like a 90% chance it's fake, completely fake. But yeah, I mean that is something they have a patent for. I don't know. That's weird to me. But whatever. I wouldn't I wouldn't put money on that being real for sure. All right. Not much else to say about that really. Because there hasn't been much other news coming out of Nintendo lately.
Well,
But
they usually manage to keep things under wraps until they're ready to announce them.
definitely. And I've heard rumors that like they might not have a big E3. A lot of people like EA has a separate thing going on the same weekend as E3 and isn't doing an official E3 conference anymore. And there's a few big companies that have kind of pulled out of E3 being a major thing for them anymore. And so there's been some rumors that Nintendo will do the same basically and just use their Nintendo Direct to deliver news like that. But I can't really see them doing something as big as a mainstream console announcement on Nintendo Direct, because in the end Nintendo Direct is a really niche thing and they want mainstream coverage. So I still think that would be an E3 announcement, but we will see. Speaking of consoles, have you heard of the PlayStation, what is being dubbed by the community as the PlayStation 4.5?
I have not.
There's rumors, unsubstantiated rumors coming out of PlayStation, but apparently credible, coming out of Sony that say that they're planning on releasing an upgraded version of the PlayStation.
That does 4K.
And
I'm reading
yeah,
it now.
that does 4K, that outputs at 4K, and apparently plays games at 4K, which would be shocking.
It seems like such a waste.
I don't think it's true. I could see them possibly making an upgraded version of the PlayStation, especially with VR and all that stuff, but not the 4K part. Maybe just upscaling it to 4K. But that I can't. Computers, like good PCs, struggle to run 4K consistently. So I don't see that as being a thing unless they have like a few specific low performance games.
I'm reading into more detail now. Apparently there was a report released through Digital Foundry, and the report said, or the sources for the report called it the PlayStation 4K, but Digital Foundry speculates that it's not realistic at all to
No.
expect 4K resolutions. I mean, if anything would change, they would increase the performance. Um,
Yeah.
but still, I just, you know,
There's a few
you
issues
don't
that
like to see that.
come with. Yeah, there's a few issues that come with this. Which one would be obviously splitting the people who've bought consoles into who has the better version, who has
Right.
the worst version, um, and that's never good. Um, or maybe you tell developers, all right, now you have to develop your game to run on both versions of the PS4 and run well on them, which is a lot to ask from developers, I think. And well, either way is it's so either option doesn't seem very good, and you're gonna piss off your community who they buy these consoles early on in their life, or what they think is early on in their
It's
life,
a kind of
with the
investment.
assumption
They
that they're gonna
expect them to
last.
last.
Exactly, uh, because you you upgrade your console halfway through, and suddenly people are gonna feel betrayed, and that kind of happened a lot with the Xbox 360. Not only the Red Ring of Death and all that stuff, but also I remember the hard drive stuff where they updated the external hard drive or something like that, like to uh, your games will load faster, and I think even some games might have required it because they had downloadable content and that kind of thing. And people without them who bought the cheap version of the 360 felt left out. That's how I remember it. It was a long time ago, but yeah, it's that kind of situation. And the weird part too is that the same rumors are coming out of Microsoft with the Xbox One, um, saying basically the same thing, that they're thinking about an upgraded version of the console. Um, that's a little bit less surprising because of the kind of talk that they've had recently of
Oh
uh,
yeah, stopping the one console model.
yeah, like everything that comes out on the console. The way they've been talking about it has been implying that a lot of their stuff coming out on the Xbox is also going to come out on PC, and that they're going to kind of unify those two systems, which
You know
leads
what? I
me.
could see PlayStation going that way too. I think that the model that they would ideally want to have if they could pick, being the company, is something like an iPhone, where you can just keep selling a new one that's
Right,
better and
that's the
keep
idea.
everything on the same platform and not have to drastically rework architectures and send out new dev kits and get everybody on the same page. I think if they had it their way, that's how it would work.
I think that's overestimating the willingness of the consumer to buy a console that's just an upgraded version
Well,
of the last one. Because a phone is a different
that's
deal. A phone is something you'd use
I guess, but
a lot.
I guess what I'm saying is that uh, the model that they might want, I'm not saying they do, but they might, is something where stuff will just not run as well on the older ones, and
Yeah,
that the newer ones, like you'll be able to play everything, because that's how PCs work, and
sure.
it's possible to have that happen, but I don't know,
It's
because
harder though because developers
console markets
specifically,
are weird.
yeah, and developers specifically design their games to run. I mean, they haven't been doing a very good job of it recently, from what I've heard. But developers specifically design their game to run on a certain version of the console. Like they design it for the console, and so having multiple versions out there is going to place a lot more burden on them, unless you move to just like basically PC settings, which the average consumer for a console doesn't want to deal with and might not even know how to deal with that kind of thing. That's such an
That's
advanced,
true. There is a knowledge gap.
yeah. So it's very weird. I can see it. For Microsoft, it makes a lot more sense because they've got their Windows 10 deal. Oh, it's Windows on your computer, on your phone, on your tablet, and now it's Windows on your Xbox. And so the Xbox becomes a Steam machine, But
Yeah,
instead of Steam OS, it's Windows 10, and
yeah,
it's a version of Windows 10 that you can control with your controller. I think that is 100% their plan, and I've thought that would be their plan for a long time now. When they started making it, when I first saw the Xbox dashboard being like the Windows 8 boxes that they love so much, I was
the
like, oh,
live
okay,
tiles.
yeah, they're unifying their look, and they're probably going to unify their whole deal. And now it's starting to really look like that. So I could see that happening with Microsoft. PlayStation, I feel like they want to stay. If I were them, I would want to stay being a platform that people are buying for their games, for their experience, and trying to separate it from the PC being unified, because that doesn't No, for Microsoft, you buy
Somebody
PC games, and it still benefits them.
somebody named Zeps in the chat says it's 4K for video, not for video games.
I
That
I
might
don't know.
that I that's more believable, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think they're gonna go like a new Nintendo 3DS route where there's gonna be stuff that only works on the new one. Games, I mean.
Hmm.
But I could see them releasing like an updated PS4 that now supports 4K
Yeah, that
video.
has some features that the
Yeah,
other one doesn't. Maybe. Yeah, I could see it happening. And it could be something like that. That's a much smaller deal than the news has been kind of reporting it as. Um, but did we talk about the Sony the price point for their VR and everything?
no.
Did you hear it was four
Oh,
hundred
Zeps,
dollars?
sorry. Zeps just says that he was speculating,
Oh,
but I think it's a good piece of speculation.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's more likely, but I think it's almost impossible for them to do 4K video games unless it's side scrollers or something.
Yeah.
It's unreasonable. But anyway, the moving on, the VR for PlayStation, I think they're calling it PlayStation VR. It's $400. I actually like what they've done. It doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles. You get the VR headset, and it comes with earbuds, literally just earbuds. They called them headphones, which I don't know how they're allowed to call them headphones because headphones go on your ear and earbuds go in your ear. But whatever.
Whatever.
Um,
In-ear headphones, they call them
yeah,
sometimes.
whatever. And then it comes with the little box, like an output box. I think that has like an extra CPU and probably a graphics card of some sort in there to beef up the hardware enough to run VR, and and then it's just a headset, and that's it. And I'm really surprised that they've gotten it down to $400. They say that they're not selling it at a loss either, because
Interesting.
because from what I've heard about people at GDC who've tried all the VR headsets and stuff, is that it doesn't feel inferior. It might be in some ways, like I think they said like the resolution around the edges was lower and stuff, but that it's still a good experience. And that's surprising to me because the price point is so low. It does require a camera, like the
$60
$50 PlayStation
though.
camera. Is it
It's
50 or
still
60?
yeah, it
That's
winds
still
up
really
being
low.
over
That's
$140 cheaper than the Oculus.
yeah. But granted, the Oculus comes with, well, it comes with really cheap looking headphone kind of things that come down from the headset.
And an
And I don't
Xbox
think it
One
comes with its
controller.
controllers or anything. But yeah, it's just surprising. I guess Oculus is going to be a little nicer. It's probably going to be higher resolution and stuff. I can't wait to see the actual like specs
Yeah.
and see the actual reviews for these things because GDC has been kind of a bunch of vague like, oh, this one seems better than this one looks better than this one. But basically, the consensus is that as the price goes higher, they do get better. The Vive looks amazing. Have you seen any of the videos of people using the Vive?
No.
It looks really good with the controllers. The detection on it looks like 1-to-1, like super accurate. I saw a video where the controllers are really weirdly shaped. They have little donuts on the top, and I saw a video where someone said to demonstrate the 1-to-1ness of them, you put one controller in the other one, and it lined up perfectly. And
Oh,
it
that's
looks
cool.
totally legit. And it was like, wow, that's really impressive because you would think the physics and all that stuff would just mess, but it looked totally perfect, and it just looked so good. I think the Vive, like I'm not going to buy any of these things on launch because damn, they're expensive and I don't know
Yeah.
how good they are. But if I were to
Same.
buy one, I would probably say like, all right, I'll shell out a lot more money to get the best experience because it's so important with VR to have that immersion and everything. So I don't know. The Vive's looking really good, but I haven't seen as much of the Oculus either. And of course, the Vive has the advantage of because it's a Valve thing. The demonstrations that they've made to show off the headset have been really high quality, like actually like well written, funny, witty, good looking little demonstrations and stuff. Like I think they did one in the Portal test chambers and it had the personality cores and everything, and they were fully voice acted. So like you get a very refined looking experience that maybe you don't get quite as good of a one with the Sony and Oculus because they feel a little bit cheaper. But yeah, I'm super excited for VR, honestly, especially seeing the videos and stuff coming out of GDC. It just looks really cool. Some of it looks kind of lame. Some of it looks like really experimental and not quite ready to. Like developers are trying stuff that maybe the technology can't quite support yet, but at least they're trying, and I think it could get there pretty quickly. But yeah, I don't know. I guess not much more to say about it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward still. I've said it before, but still, I really just need to try one
Yeah,
before I can really be interested. I mean, I tried the Gear VR, but that's, not the same as.
I tried the Oculus Dev Kit thing, and that was so low resolution that it just didn't. I knew as I was doing it, like, okay, this is obviously just not the experience I'm going to get. Um, yeah, I haven't heard like plans to. I assume they're going to have in malls and stuff a chance to try these things out. I will go as soon as I hear there's one in my area because I'm looking forward to that so much. But all right, moving on. This isn't really news, but this is stuff that's well, kind of. Trackmania Turbo came out today on the PC.
That's that super fast time
Yeah,
trial racing
the
game.
weird game that I'm a big fan of. It's this latest iteration of it is an attempt, a very clear attempt. I think they were bought by Ubisoft. I think it's Ubisoft. Someone can correct me in chat as they've been doing this whole time. And they've tried to make it a little more mainstream, a little, I guess, more arcadey and accessible. And it looks like they've kind of ruined it for a lot of the big fans of the series because like no dedicated servers anymore. That sucks. That's something that's a really big deal to people because people had servers on that thing and they'd play custom music and stuff, like just a lot of weird things, the typical stuff that I guess that you find with dedicated servers on games that allow that kind of thing. But it was a big part of the community, and they had like third-party ranking systems that weren't supported by the base game. I mean, Turbo doesn't allow any of that stuff. It I've just seen a lot of complaints about it. If you go to Steam, I think the reviews are mixed, and it's also weird because it seems like they've made PS4 their primary platform, where like the beta that they were running for it was a PS4 only thing, and it's always been a PC only game. So it felt really gross. I don't know. I probably won't buy it because I like old Trackmania, and the stuff that they've added, which is like a dune buggy kind of car that has like you can do stunts, like you can move the car in midair and that kind of thing, doesn't feel like a Trackmania thing. It feels like a completely different kind of game. So nothing about it really appeals to me except getting more tracks for the stuff that for the cars that I already can drive in the previous versions of the game. So, I'm not too excited about that one. Have you seen, when did Star Souls 3 come out?
April 11th.
That's close. That's really soon.
I've been avoiding stuff.
Me too. And it's been hard because they've been
Everybody
really
has the damn game.
Yeah, they've been really aggressive with their marketing.
Vadi Vidya has like a let's
shit.
play of it already.
Yeah, and I'm seeing more and more streams of it. And I think it was Matthew Matosis today was complaining about the trailer, just the 2-minute long trailer having a bunch of stuff in it that looked like maybe not late game content, but like
past the early game.
Yeah, like stuff that you don't really necessarily want to see if you're looking forward to the game. Like just being weird about it.
We've talked about this before too, but it just doesn't seem like From Software cares as much about keeping things under wraps as people who enjoy their games do.
I don't want to place the blame entirely on From Software.
Or Namco.
I don't know.
It might be
much,
Namco.
Yeah, I assume most of those decisions are made by the producer, so I can't just blame them. Because in every other regard, this feels like any other like Dark Souls 1 and Bloodborne, like from the way people are talking about how the game was designed and everything. It's not like they've made big changes. Um, I don't know very much about it, and I don't want to,
Right.
so maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I mean, it that's the only thing that's really changed is the way that they're marketing it so heavily and spoiling it so bad. It reminds me of the Metal Gear Solid 5, like the month before that game was
Oh, what's
released, where you had Game Over Greggy playing streams of it and trailers that were showing what looked like really, really, really spoilery story content and stuff. Um, just bizarre stuff that felt scummy from the producer, if it was the producer doing it, that kind of stuff, which it seemed to be. So yeah.
If you look at the screen, you might see a little poster. You'll see Godzilla.
Yes. I was actually going to forget to mention this.
Yeah, so Hideaki Anno, it's not new news that he's doing it. Hideaki Anno, creator of Evangelion, he wrote and is directing a new Godzilla movie. And I am so excited to see this. Because this will be like the first non-Evangelion thing he's made in a long time.
Yeah.
And it seems like the more I think about it, that would be like his perfect kind of movie. I mean, the way he edits and paces scenes, like you've seen Evo when like the angels arrive, like there's always some really spectacular scene where they show up, and sometimes it's not just bombastic. Sometimes it's kind of disturbing how each monster's introduced, and Godzilla is like the original big monster thing in Japan. And so,
obviously.
and yeah, I am really interested to see what he does with this, both visually and in story, and I think he needed a break from just doing Evangelion, because he's made 3 of those rebuild movies, not all that great, and apparently he fell into another severe depression after the 3rd one. So.
Yeah, I was about to say the story of his his story has been fraught with what sounds like really dramatic stress and all that kind of thing. But yeah, that's exciting. That's cool. I've never been like a Godzilla fan.
Neither have I. I've never seen any Godzilla movie actually.
Well, that makes 2 of us then. But that doesn't make me not excited for this. Just because his name's attached to it, it could be really interesting. But did you see the movie the what's his name, Breaking Bad?
Bryan Cranston won the 2014 Godzilla movie. No, I didn't see it. I heard it wasn't very good because he left the movie really partway through.
But yeah.
I forgot about this in the week part, but I want to mention it. I went to another Smash tournament, and this time I finally won. Finally. I'm just going to give you the lowdown. So the first tournament I go to, I beat everybody, but there's this one guy who just annihilates me. It's not even close. The next tournament, I make it closer, but he still wins by a good deal. The next tournament, I do better. I knock him into losers, but then he comes back and takes it at the end. And so the next time, this last time, okay, winners finals, I hit the guy. It goes to game 5. And I beat him. I knock him into losers. He hits me again in grand finals. Set number 1 goes to game 5. He beats me. And then it's like, oh shit. It's all on the line. We've played 10 games at that point, and we're just dead even. Every game comes down to like 1 stock, 1 hit. And the VODs of it are up on YouTube, if anybody cares, which I doubt anyone does. But, the last set number 2 grand finals, game 5, I fucking win, finally. It was just amazing, for me, not for anyone else.
What is this event like? Like, are there a lot of people and stuff? Like,
how
many people are entered into the?
I mean, sometimes there's more people, sometimes there's less. Like, one of them, like the second one, I think only had like 8 people. This last one had more like 20. But
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter because it's really just me and this guy are the only ones in contention
Just
for
the best of the
for
best, huh?
first.
Well, you need
But
to
no,
start
at
traveling.
first this guy was much better than me.
Yeah.
Like just
I think I
blew me
remember you
out.
talking about this guy in particular like a few months ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So
but yeah, it
that's
was
cool.
satisfying. It felt good.
All right. Cool.
That's just a little story.
I've been playing CS:GO. I'm actually getting better at that. You
Really,
kind of hit plateaus and stuff,
I
and
heard they changed the ranking system to
they
uninflate
did.
ranks.
They changed it a lot.
Good.
The silver ranks now encompass what used to be, I think, all of the Nova ranks.
That's what it should be.
Yeah, because the Nova was still beginners. Like I mean,
Hmm.
Nova's where it's like, okay, I'm starting to figure things out, but you haven't
You're not good.
really, yeah, you're not competitive. Um, there's still a ton of like kind of random elements and just people who don't even communicate, that kind of thing. And once you get above Nova, that's where it's like, okay, if your team isn't communicating, you lose.
Yes.
Or if you don't know certain basic things about the game and the maps, you lose. Period.
Yep.
So I like the system they have, and I've been impressed with myself with how I've moved up the ranks, the new ranks, which I'm a lower rank than I was before now, but technically higher than I was before. So I'm playing with people who are still better than I am, but uh, I'm kind of getting up to their level. So it's very I
Like
love
that.
CS:GO, man.
That's how the rank should be.
Yeah,
There was a period of rank inflation, so I've heard from my brother and from other people who kept playing during that time. Um, and like one guy on my Steam friends list who I know fucking sucks at the game,
hmm
uh, and I spectated them and they still suck. They managed to get to like, um, not I think it was Master Guardian Elite with the double AKs.
yeah,
And when I last played with him, he was like Silver 4 or something. That was like in 2013. I mean, maybe he's gotten better. He must have. But that I've also heard lots of other people I know get to
yeah.
ridiculous ranks. And
They keep it
apparently there were
secret.
way too many global elites running
Yeah,
around.
they keep it secret how they do the ranking system, but like what they award points for, that kind of thing. But I think that they've also changed that to the point where like I think it's harder to rank up if you're being carried.
Mm,
If you're the weak link in a team, I think it's I this is kind of conjecture and based on assumptions because they're secretive about it. But from what I've heard, it seems like it's harder to be carried into a higher rank, and that's what a lot of those people do. Is like you can kind of get by if you're okay, and your team is much better than you are. You can still kind of get by and win games and be ranked up. So I don't know. I don't care a ton about the ranking system. I play it game by game, but it is nice as an indicator of like, okay, I'm doing better than I was a month
yeah.
ago. I'm playing people who are better than I was a month ago, and so it's a nice gauge, but it's in the end, it's not everything. You get some really crappy players playing high rank and vice versa. So um, whatever, but fun game. And I also watched some more pro matches from. I don't know. I don't even know what the events they were from. I just kind of chose them at random, but that game's also just really fun to watch. I think
Yeah.
competitively. The people not knowing where each other are. That's always exciting. Like it's like 1v1 and they're around the bomb and they don't know where each other are. Like that's
Lots of
that's
tension.
really intense stuff that you don't get. You get with a lot of games, but you don't get from basically any sport. And so it's just way different than what I'm used to. All right, last piece of news.
Well, while we're on CSGO, real quick,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
financing my Dark Souls 3 purchase with these super expensive stickers that I happen to have. Um,
Dude, I got $15.01 going through my Steam inventory and selling all my trading cards and
I
shit.
have a sticker worth $150.
Wow, Jesus.
It was back in 2014 during Katowice, and they first released stickers. And I opened three. Um, One of them wound up being worth $50. That one's on the market right now. The other was worth 30. That one I sold already. And then there's the other that's worth like 150. And
I
yeah, I'm
cannot
just not
believe.
gonna have to buy Dark Souls 3.
I don't care how well off you are. I cannot believe that people pay any amount of money, let alone that much money on cosmetic items. But we have been over that.
Yeah, that I
That
I
shit's
can't even
crazy.
possibly begin to identify with that
Yeah.
like perspective on money and what it's worth. Like
Crazy
it's
fucking shit.
it's just not worth that much. It's not worth
Nope.
that much.
It's I mean technically it's not worth anything, but I have officially bought one cosmetic item. It was for Rocket League. By the way, we didn't talk about that. We played some Rocket League together,
That's
and
true.
you're starting to get into that a little bit, but there's not much to say about it. It's Rocket League. It's really good.
It's
The new
fun.
maps are fun too.
And
Um,
his friend Tay Champion is
yes,
just too good.
he schooled everyone.
What I
Yeah,
noticed,
he's played a lot of that
because
game.
right, yeah, and it's you could just say, man, he's so fucking great. But it was fun to try to observe specifically what he was doing better.
Mhm.
And what I noticed was there were a lot of times where he would just get like a crazy angle or something,
Sure.
and that is just a very, you know, that's a very experience based thing. But what I noticed he must have practiced somehow, or just honed over time maybe, is to pop off the ground and boost into the ball,
Hmm.
and that it opens the game up so much. I started
That's the
trying it,
stuff.
and I can't do it consistently, really, but it's like my least favorite part of that game. The only part of that game that really doesn't feel good is when you're like sitting under the ball waiting for it to come down. And it turns out you're not supposed to do that. That
Nope.
ideally you should be setting yourself up and then going for it in the air. And that puts it on a better angle to go for the goal too. I mean, it's
Yeah.
yeah, that's something I
Everyone's
want to
impressed.
integrate into my
Everyone's
play.
impressed when you do your aerial that's halfway up the wall and do something crazy like that. But it takes a lot of skill to do the really simple stuff where it's just like as simple as beating the guy next to you because you're better and faster about getting off the ground to the ball. And the hard part isn't doing it. The hard part is doing it accurately, not just hitting the ball randomly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm working on. Is just like what part of the car do I hit the ball with? How do I judge like where it's going to go? And like that stuff is still pretty far over my head. I can do the thing where you just jump off the ground and boost a little bit to get yourself higher, but not accurately. I mean, I can kind of get it in the general 90-degree direction that I want it to go in, but it might not be going very fast and certainly won't be accurate. But yeah, fun game.
It
Really
is.
fun shit. Um, all right. Now, last piece of news. Uh, did you hear about? I guess you did, since you said it as the background of our podcast video. Cooley has gotten two sequels,
Yeah.
two seasons of sequels.
And I checked, and it's not by the original director,
Nope.
and so I don't care.
It has some of the original creators, and the music's still going to be by the Pillows.
Okay,
I don't.
that
I
might
don't.
be worth it just to listen to the music.
It'll be worth it to watch it and see what it's like.
And the
Definitely.
visuals, like the animation, will probably be
It's.
on
I mean, it's
par
still probably going to be a
with
quality
what it
show.
was.
But the thing about, like, the original was such a unique and well done and
A totally
contained-
complete story in
Yeah.
itself.
yeah, that
6 episodes, super concise, super satisfying.
even if it was all the original people involved and everything, I still wouldn't want a sequel because it feels like no. FLCL, it's a thing. It's by itself. It doesn't need a sequel, and a sequel will only be to its detriment, no matter how good it is.
Yeah, it feels like it can't
Yeah,
actually have a legitimate sequel.
No,
Like that
because like it
that
ended.
bass pluck at the end, that was
Mhm.
that was the end.
Yeah, there's other stories that could be told, but you don't need them to be told, and you don't want them to be told.
No, we're gonna follow Atomsk through the cosmos and go on
Yeah,
this
yeah,
wacky
shit.
adventure. How about that?
That's not what the show's about,
and it's gonna
not
probably
what-
follow the chick instead of Takun.
yeah, just weird. It'll be interesting to check out, but
I'll watch it just because I like Fully Cooley so much. But I'm
Yeah.
definitely going in knowing this is not Fully Cooley.
Yeah, and it's hard because it's like it's legitimately close to my heart. Like I remember like watching that for the first time and being blown away and thinking about it
Yeah.
for a long time. Just
Yeah.
like thinking
It's
about
that
it and
kind of
watching it
show.
again and watching it again and thinking about it and thinking about it.
And it's the
Um,
kind of show where that value sneaks up on you. Because
yes.
on face, it's so silly, but it has a lot going for it.
Yeah. So, yeah. Oh
I'll
well.
watch it. I'll watch it, and I'll
It's not,
definitely
it's
listen
not
to the
gonna ruin
soundtrack.
it or anything. Like it'll.
Yeah, that's the other good part, or I guess not the other good part, but that's the silver lining here,
Yeah.
is that Fooly Cooley is complete.
Yeah.
This isn't going to undermine the original show for me, and it
Yeah.
shouldn't for anyone else.
Yeah. Don't let things like this ruin your love of a series or anything.
It's like, did Blues Brothers 2000 ruin Blues Brothers?
Did Metal Gear Solid 5 ruin Metal Gear Solid? Let's not
Yes.
talk about that.
Yes.
Let's end the podcast on that bombshell. This has been episode 68,
Yeah.
and sorry it was not only a week late, but also a week and
A week
2
and
hours, 2.5
an hour
hours
and a
late,
half late.
hour and a half, whatever. Hope you enjoyed, everyone. Good night. See you next time.